Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this session. I am Roman Jacques. I am the lead organizer at GDG Lawrence, and this is Flutter DevCamp 2022 Web Edition. This is session number 2. So we're gonna delve right into Flutter development. Last week we had a blast with a bunch of people joining. We had a great amazing session where we set everybody up with their system, installing Flutter, setting up their Firebase project, and we had amazing questions. Everybody was in the first session. Everybody was dropping their links because they were building already Flutter web applications. So please make sure to save those links, submit it in the form available so that you can win cool prizes at the end and get your. In this session number 2 of our Flutter DevCamp 2022, we're going to be diving right into Flutter. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you for spending these 2 hours of your Saturday with us. We're going to make it worthwhile for you. So let's start right away. So again, like I mentioned, this is a 4-part Flutter event series. We're going to focus it on the web, and we're going to be deploying a Flutter web application to Firebase Hosting. Last session, you can watch it in the videos. It's already provided. You can see how we set up our environments for Flutter. We installed Flutter from scratch. We set it up. We even help people on our Slack channel and to Firebase Hosting. A lot of people were able to publish it at the end of the session. You can watch the first video, set up your environment, and publish your application and continue building. Today, we're going to be continuing building on that same application. Today's session number 2, like I said, today, June 25th, we're going to be diving right into the building of UI layouts. Then we're going to have a little break in between. We're going to have like a Flutter, a Twitter space. We're going to have office hours on Slack. We're going to have a little break in between. Then we're coming back in July 9th for a more advanced topic, consuming data in your Flutter web applications. Our very own Kevin Kwan is going to, we're all going to be here. And now you're going to bring your application to the next step. If it applies to you, yes, you can apply it to your application, but this is very key because you're going to make your application a lot more robust, more usable, because you're going to bring data from the outside so it via your Flutter web application. Don't miss the next one because it's going to be a more advanced topic. We're going to be talking about consuming RESTful APIs. We're going to be talking about state management and all that. So let's join us in the next session. We're going to take a little break in between, again, because everybody wants to enjoy their summer and all that. So again, these are your instructions and facilitators. I am Roman. I'm the Flutter GDE and lead organizer at GDG Lawrence. Lionel, I don't know if he's in attendance, but Kevin is in there already on deck, ready, waiting for your questions, ready to answer some of your questions, moderating the chat. Everybody for joining. If you want to catch up, Sid, we can drop a link. Please, you're gonna join the. You can also check out the YouTube channel. I just dropped the link in there, and you can watch the previous session and then catch up. So great. So we have Kevin. So Kevin for joining. I don't know if you want to say something to.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Just welcome. I'm very happy that everybody joined today, and I believe that you're going to learn a lot from this session also. Roman is very great presenter, so I think Roman has a lot of knowledge about Flutter. So I'm learning a lot from him also.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. It's always a pleasure having you here. Having your expertise brings a lot of validation to our events. But if we don't have the collaboration with other communities, so in attendance, we have our community leads, Linda Kovacs, Elizabeth Messias, she's from GDG Boston Android. Linda is from Capital Region. Linda, would you mind coming off mute and just say hi to the attendees and your community?
This is kind of mission impossible to do it very fast.
Yeah, you gotta yes.
Because I have to make myself presenter. Thank you so much, Roman, for organizing this awesome Flutter camp and share it with our communities. I'm really happy because I know for sure we have in our community people looking forward for this kind of events. That's why I'm always happy to share with my community and take advantage of everything what is good out there. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure having you. You have such a vibrant, great community. Same thing with Elizabeth. And we love collaborating with other chapters because, again, strength in numbers, bringing people together, bringing is the goal of these sessions. Great. Thank you. Again, our GDG Lawrence. One more time in the chat so that those of you who want to ask us questions, we're there all the time. I was even helping throughout this week a few folks asking questions. Iman, he was there asking me questions. There were other folks asking me questions about Firebase, questions about setting up the environment. Please join the Slack channel. That is where we are 24/7 available for you to answer questions about Flutter Web or any questions at all. Like if you just want to hang out with us, that is the Slack channel for you to join. Make sure you join the Flutter channel. Sorry, in there, Linda, Kevin, to help you out. Set you up so that you can stay there, ask us questions and all that. So make sure to join the Flutter Slack channel. Thank you. And of course, our YouTube channel, this session is being recorded right now, and it will also post it later today so that you can catch up on things. But remember, videos on your own time, but the beauty of being present right now is because you're gonna certificate of completion, you're qualified for that, and also we're gonna raffle cool prizes for people in attendance to honor you, as a token of our appreciation for you being here. So thank you so much for all of you in attendance right now. Again, the goal of the series, just to recap, just like last time, publish your first publicly available Flutter web application. You're going to have a custom URL, the name of your project, .web.app. You can brag about it to your friends that you have a cool available. You can use it as your personal web page, web application, your project or anything. Has HTTPS by default, and then you can set up your own Firebase project. We did that last time. We're going to recap a little bit today, but this is the goal of the series. Flutter. And of course, for those of you who submit a Flutter web application and give us the link and attend all the 4 sessions that we're going to have, you're going to get a certificate of completion. You're going to get Flutter swag and the chance to enter raffles. So again, like the raffles apply for the US and Canada, for US only, then for the rest of the world, because of the shipping costs, we're going to be raffling hardware. But everybody who joins and are there, everybody's going to get something, at least a certificate of completion. And the rest of you who qualify, you will also get some cool, amazing hardware. Stay tuned for those. Now the link to the form. If you already started building a very cool Flutter web application, submit it at that link right there. You're gonna win cool prizes if you get to be picked, but at least at the end experience of having built a Flutter web application, publish it to Firebase Hosting, which is completely free. But you're gonna get something cool out of that as well. We're gonna raffle a Flutter, Google Nest Max, a Chromecast, and a Google Nest Mini for those who qualify and for those who enter. To enter that raffle, put your name, email, the link to your published Flutter web application, and just wait for your prize to come home if you get picked. Awesome. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining again. At the end of every session, like I said, wow, more stuff. Okay, we got a lot of really cool stuff. This session, we're going to raffle a Flutter Dev Camp t-shirt just like this one. You get to wear one of these. Danai won last time. Her t-shirt is on her way to the UK. So yes, she's going to, and I hope she takes a picture with it and share it with us. But yeah, just provide your email and size. We'll contact you for the shipping. And if you stay all the way, get a Flutter Dev Camp t-shirt. You can, as a token of our appreciation, you can rock this t-shirt, brag about that you were here at this awesome event. So stay all the way through at the end of this cool t-shirt. As a recap, remember we're going to be building our own. We're going to be setting up our local environment. We did it last session. There's the video so that you can watch it, and if you want to catch up, also you can do that. Providing also the copy of these slides right now. If you want to, Mark is saying, can we buy the t-shirt if we don't win the raffle? I can definitely give you the design, and you can make that t-shirt your own. That's totally fine. I can do that. So ping me on the slide. You can print it yourself if you want to. Yes, feel free. And then you could just drop in the slides, this same slide, so that you can follow these links. Great resources in these slides. Set up your local environment. If this is your first time joining, you're going to set up your environment in Flutter. You're going to install Visual Studio Code so that you can code the Flutter web application. Then again, we're going to be building the Flutter application. This is, again, the goal of this camp. Build a Flutter web application. Now in this session, we're going to diving right into building the UI, building cool animations, and all of that. I'm going to show you that we're going to be diving right into that. And of course, you're also going to learn how to create and set up your own Firebase account, which you will use for your Flutter web application. Then you're going to see your application live. You're going to see it live, hosted on. For those of you who ask, anybody asks you, have you worked in the Google Cloud? After this session, you're going to say yes. Why? Is leveraging the Google Cloud to host your very own Flutter web application. So stay tuned. For that, I'm going to show you a little bit of that. But if you want to catch up, grab the slides and the video if you want to do that. But diving right into the application itself. Let's continue. Yes, of course, we showed last time how to install the Firebase CLI, which you use to deploy your Flutter web application. I'm going to just go over it very lightly because, again, we already went through that last session. Also, you'll see how I deploy my application to Firebase Hosting. Of course, this session is about Flutter and Firebase. Flutter, again, is the technology, is this open source UI toolkit backed by Google that allows you to develop applications for multiple platforms with one single code base. The beauty of Flutter Web is because you can become a Flutter developer with a very lower barrier of entry. You don't need an app store to publish your application. You can immediately or your production ready application and host it on a very cloud a solution like Firebase. Firebase is a suite of services provided by Google that allows you to build very robust applications. You have databases in there. You have NoSQL databases. You have authentication. You have storage. You can manage all your backend for your web applications or mobile applications right from Firebase. And in Firebase, we're going to be using it for hosting. You can also use it for hosting your own web applications, not just Flutter web apps. Any Flutter, any web applications, you can host it in Firebase Hosting. So we're going to get to that in a minute. I hope you guys are as excited as I am, and we're going to dive right into that. Perfect. Hello, I see a lot of people joining already. The Slack, thank you. Join the Slack channel. Ask us any questions in there. Again, just yesterday at our Flutter, we had a very nice, cool Twitter space talking about Flutter Web. We were talking about what's Flutter Web good for. Let me recap. Flutter Web is good for those app-centric experiences, highly engaging experiences, progressive web applications, single-page applications, or you have an existing mobile application that you want to migrate it to the web. You can do so very easily. There are some caveats, of course, accessing the local file system, accessing some hardware from a web application, but Flutter Web is good for those highly engaging, rich in animations, rich in graphics type of web applications. You want to deliver an app experience through the web. Flutter is good for that. What is Flutter Web not good for? We got to be honest. Flutter is amazing, but it may not be for you in some search. So Flutter Web is not good for like a static document-like type of web application or web page. So it's not for like more like for a web app experience. I'm going to be coding one later and I'm going to show you. But for example, like for a blog, something that requires SEO, search engine optimization, a landing page, some marketing content, help content. Flutter Web is not good for that. But embed Flutter in a traditional Flutter, in a traditional web application, you can embed it via an iframe. So that is, and then you want to deliver like a very cool, rich experience within your existing HTML web application. Yes, you can do that. So you have an existing web app, you want it Flutter, you can add it in an iframe. So that is what Flutter Web is good for. Pretty much everything in Flutter. You know, as a Flutter, if you have an existing Flutter application and you want to turn it to the web, you can leverage except code that tries to access the file system directly. If you want to tap in running devices capabilities, there are some exceptions. For example, you can access the webcam through a Flutter web application. You can do that, but you cannot access the hard drive of the user's, you know, machine. There are, you know, exceptions, of course, and things or workaround to actually access certain things. And for example, like I mentioned, retrieving information about the underlying platform, for example, checking if it's a mobile browser or a desktop browser, you cannot do that because there's a specific library that provides that, which is the dart.io. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not available for web yet, but at least you have a lot of things that you can build on a Flutter web application. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute. These are just a few examples of the Flutter web applications that are publicly built by even you can see, for example, like at Google I/O, they had the I/O pinball game that was completely developed as a Flutter application. You will see what I mean, like, you know, how cool it is. The Dashatar Flutter web application that you can build your own avatar and then you can use it to post it on social media and all of that. So these are the type of experiences. See, in the top one, this one, I'm building it myself. I'm building like a Flutter web application game, looking like a monster attack type of game. Web. I provide also a couple of links that I myself have built, have already been published using Firebase Hosting, sometimes hosting it in GitHub pages. But the last two were Flutter web apps that I built myself, just to show you kind of like so that you can see how you actually can build, what you actually can build with Flutter web experiences that you can build with Flutter web app. This is what Flutter web app is now for. Don't do this. Do not do this in Flutter web app. Please don't do it. This is not what Flutter web app is for. Just to let you know. You want to do something like this, go ahead and do it in any other framework. Angular, React, Vue, Laravel, whatever, jQuery, PHP, do this. Do not do this on Flutter web app. That is not what it is for. Flutter web is for rich, engaging, amazing experiences that delight your users on the web. Do not torture your Flutter, your users with stuff like this. Do not do it, please. So yes, that's not what it is for. Just to be sure, people say, "Oh yeah, I cannot do that." No, you can't do this. No, you cannot do it. Great. So another thing that you actually need to keep in mind when you're building Flutter is implementing responsiveness. Why? Responsiveness is the ability for you to adapt to the screen as your application changes, you know, in the rendering, in the, let's say, in the running device, on the screens that your user is actually running your application, your Flutter web application. If it's a mobile application that you started with and you're building it for iOS and Android, and now you want to migrate it to the web, you have this amazing, this huge amount of space available. So you need to implement responsiveness. You need to tailor the experience to the web, maybe add more content. You can, because you have all the real estate. So make sure to I'm also going to be providing some links that I've also built myself, some code labs and some tutorials on how to tackle responsiveness the right way. So you got to keep that in mind. Also, you got to take advantage of in Flutter 3. Flutter 3 is the latest version of Flutter, and they bring a bunch of advancements and improvements, not only in performance, but also in the way that a Flutter web app People complain that at the beginning of a Flutter web application, they get like a blank screen. So that blank, because your Flutter web app is loading, it takes a little bit to load depending on the type of web renderer that you use. Lifecycle API will save you a lot of trouble, because then you can add like a landing page, you can add like a loading screen, like a a little bit of a intermission between your app and getting to the Flutter side of your application. So just add like a loading in there. And last but not least, the image decoder capability only for browsers that support it. You can make sure that your images, when you're loading like JPEGs, PNGs and images in your application, it actually performs a lot better when you use the new image decoder available in. So that is, you need to be upgraded, you need to be on the latest version of Flutter, and that allows you to do that. Enough talking. It's 10:21. Let's start code. Focus will be on your Flutter web application. Whatever you guys did last session, we're going to capitalize on that right now, because you're already built a project. You're ready, published you published your application to Firebase Hosting, and now you're ready to continue building on that. Dive into custom widgets, custom fonts, icons, and adding images, both raster and vector images. So that's what we're going to be diving right in. Sorry, I just wanted to give you the start of this session. I want to elevate your voices, and I want to, I want us to celebrate one another. Whoever's ready to show any progress that you have done already, and please drop the link right now. We're gonna share it. We're gonna just take a look at it. Anybody able to show something, even a hello world, like if you just have or just a blank page with one letter in it and you already deployed it and you want to show it to us, please go ahead and show it to us. This is this is for you. This event is not for me, it's not for Kevin, it's not for Linda, it's for you, it's for all of us. So all of us want to celebrate one another. We want to make. So for those of you who are ready, let me know. Oh, there you go, Jose Ramos. Thank you so much for joining. He was very key last session. He was helping other people out. At the same time, he was building an application on his own. So I see Samina also provided that. Julia, no problem. Julia says she missed the first session. That's totally fine. Watching the videos now. In case a few of the completed some of theirs with stuff.
Hey, Roman, can I make a comment about the you comment about the
not designed to
make
some similar to
what the website is. So where can we find the resource that Google mentioned, what kind of web app, we can actually do? Because I think there's a lot of misconception about, Flutter being cross-platform, and then they would want to use Flutter to build a very web
applications, right?
Totally. I can. Yes, I know my
Management, in the space, we work with a big company.
Yes. I don't know if my connection is a little acting up a little bit. Those links in the Slack channel for those of you who want to do that. Yeah, Flutter in their documentation, they do have, they say what Flutter is good for, what Flutter web is not good for. So we're going to provide those links in the chat. But that's a good point, Kevin. We should definitely point people in the right direction, clear those misconceptions, educate people better. So let's start. So we have Mina's link. Let's see what she has so far. So in simple, it works. So Samina, this is your link. Of course, it's taking a little bit, totally fine. You can leverage Lifecycle API to improve this. And this is her web application. And when you click, you get a hello world with a button that increments the number. Samina, applause for you. Thank you so much. This we want to do. Even as something as simple as this, web application. That's what we wanted to prove here. Thank you so much, Samina. Dude, that's all. To now go with your application. This is what you built last week. Thank you again for helping us out, helping other folks as well. Now I hope that all of you are going to continue incrementing on that. So this is Jose Demo's homepage, and you keep clicking, same thing. So he has a very cool, very customized, because he already applied his colors, a web application in Firebase Hosting. So Jose, thank you. Keep being awesome. Keep helping us out. Thank you so much. So just provided his link. It says Roman Flutter Web Tuts. Awesome. That's a very nice name for your project. Very cool. I'm going to drop it right here. This is Sosu. So Sosu, I'm just showing your link. Thank you for publishing. You already qualified for those the final prize, and of course for your certificate of completion. Kevin, can you start also collecting some of the links that the folks have provided? Yes, you're gonna submit it on the form that we provided, but I get these links that I'm dropping so that we don't lose them.
Yeah,
great.
I'll do that.
Great, thank you. So it works. Awesome. Thank you so much. There it is. So you're amazing. You already have something going. Let's keep going. Mahendran, thank you. You joined. Now let's take a look at yours. This is Mahendran's. This is Flutter with Hosting Web. That's a very good name. It's unique on your project, so it doesn't other folks' names. So this is Mahendran. Celebrating everybody. Done it. Thank you so much, all of you. And this is a very separate, completely different implementation where when you there it is. Thank you. That's amazing. Hey, that was pretty cool. Hey, very cool, Mahendran. That's awesome. See, there you go. That's exactly the kind of things that you can do. So Mahendran, great job. Keep at it. Just wanted to say thank you guys for those of you who have already submitted theirs. Now David Adebayo, thank you for also joining the Twitter space, and thank you for being an amazing supporter. So David is building his own portfolio according to the name of the project. Says My Portfolio Dev Camp. So this will be pretty much his portfolio. So you can build a portfolio, you can build a personal web page, you can do anything. So that is exactly what we want to do. Thank you, David, for your submission. Other people, you also provided yours. Let me grab your link, and let's again keep celebrating one another. Let's just I'm doing now Shivam. So Shivam, this is your application. Let's take a look. Chat. Drop it one more time here. I'm gonna links so that you can drop it also for you, Linda. So that actually I'm just gonna drop it in the just give me a second, guys. Let's just let me just drop it all here so that you guys, our organizers, will be helping you out, dropping the links that you guys need. We're gonna help you. Okay, perfect. So Linda already did it, and this is Shivam, this is yours. That's awesome. So let me see if I do something. Very cool. This is amazing. So you're gonna start like some sort of like a this is the kind of things that we wanted to do. Thank you so much. Let's continue down the line. Other folks, again, we're celebrating all of you. Keep dropping your links. Sharmila, it's your turn. I'm gonna grab your link and I'm gonna drop it here. Again, this is not the Roman show. This is the GDG Lawrence, GDG Northeast, Flutter Dev Camp. This is your show. We want to celebrate everybody. So this is Sharmila's submission. Let's take a look. I'm just clicking, and there it is. See, let's hit to increase your counter. You keep increasing. That is we're gonna step it up in just a minute. We're gonna. Are amazing. Now you gotta take them to the next level. Continuing dropping your stuff. So thank you so much to all of you. So Michael,
the world out. I'm going to just show you the project
itself because I can't extend it too much because we're going over time. But again, watch the video from last session so that you can catch up. But I'm just going to show real quick the project and how to deploy it back to there. But I'm going to start again.
So congrats to everybody
who submitted something, who already has something going. Now is time for you to step it up. Go to the next level, and now let's start. Let's continue with our Flutter Dev Camp 2022 Web Edition here at GDG Lawrence. So let's start. So I'm gonna just
wait,
and I'm gonna show you right back to where I was. So this is the project that I started last week. I called it Flutter Dev. So I'm going to deploy this in Firebase Hosting. So again, Firebase Hosting, suite of services provided by
service for hosting. You can host your own application here.
So I'm going to go to the Firebase console.
Firebase console is this fully managed environment where you manage all your resources
in the in the Firebase console. So this is the link, firebaseconsole.google.com. Last week, we all created a Firebase project. So the way to create a project in Firebase, you click on Add Project, you go to console firebasegoogle.com, you create your project, and then you add a name to it, you provide your unique name for your project, and finalize your project. I created one specific for this project called Flutter Dev Camp, which is right here. And if you see, there is this section in Firebase for hosting on the left-hand side. See, there's for hosting. And now here, I am already hosting a very custom Flutter Camp web application that if I click on it, now you will see my very basic Flutter web application, very bare bones, that just says hello from Flutter Web Dev Camp, just like all of you guys. I can start clicking and then you get the application. Now, how did I get this application up in Firestore, in Firebase Hosting? Let me show you. We installed the Firebase tools. Firebase CLI specifically. The Firebase CLI is a set of command line interface commands, and it's like a tool that you install for you to deploy your web application to Firebase Hosting. Watch the previous video so that you can do so, but I'm going to just recap it right now. In the root of your project, of your Flutter application, remember we also started creating the application by typing Flutter after installing Flutter in your environment, whether in Windows or Mac. We did Flutter create, and then you type the name of your project. Mine was called Flutter Dev Camp. After the project got created, at the root of the project, we installed the Firebase CLI. The Firebase CLI gives you a couple of commands such as Firebase login. It will actually log you into your Firebase hosting environment, in the Firebase environment. Here, when I say Firebase hosting, it should say you are already logged in because I'm already logged into my environment. So let's just wait a minute or two, and there it is. I'm already logged in into my environment. Now, if you see here, when I install the Firebase CLI, I have to initialize the environment. So I have to say Firebase init. Firebase init, what it does is install some of the dependencies in your project ready for you to deploy your project up there. So if I say Firebase init, it's going to say, I'm going to initialize your environment. Okay, what is it, the type of feature? See, I'm already connected to Firebase by doing this. And then I'm going to say, you're initializing your project. What type of feature is it that you want to do with Firebase? So you have to use your arrow keys in your space bar to select hosting, because I'm going to leverage hosting. You go through the steps and then you configure hosting. I'm going to quit it because, again, like I say, you need to watch the previous video so that you can do that. Now, after you set it up, all you have to do is deploy. Simple as that. Check this out. You make your changes in your Flutter application. For example, I'm going to change my app bar from red to green, for example, right? And then I build the application. You need to build it. You need to build your Flutter web application by typing Flutter build web, and then either you leave it like that so that it builds it automatically, or you can specify the type of web renderer. For example, you can say Canvas Kit. Canvas Kit actually adds a little bit more to the payload, but it performs better. Or you can pick HTML, which is a smaller payload, but it's not that performant, but it's good enough. So if I do that in Flutter build web, I'm gonna build my Flutter web package. Is going to create a bunch of web compatible assets like an HTML file, CSS, JavaScript. All of that is going to compile it, minify it, bundle it, tree shaken on the project. Then you have these set of assets, these set of files that you can then deploy to Firebase Hosting. So after this is building, it's going to put it in a folder called web. Inside of that folder, I'm going to show you what it yields after it does the building. You see it's done. Now there is a folder called build with a folder called web. And you see it gives me a bunch of, it gives me an index.html. It gives me some JavaScript files. See, all your Flutter code and the Flutter core, it gets compiled into web compatible assets so that you can just deploy it on any web server. So after this, you need to have your configuration here in the Firebase JSON. After you did Firebase init, you get this configuration. In this configuration, I'm saying this is the website, this is the file, this is the location of the files that need to be deployed to my public website in Firebase Hosting. So you have to add it here. It says hosting, public, and then this is the folder. It's inside build web. So I pointed to that, and all I have to do after I configure that, all I have to do is just say Firebase Deploy. Just by typing Firebase Deploy, my project is going to connect to Firebase. It's going to grab all those files, is going to deploy it to this location in Firebase Hosting right here. Look, in my hosting area, it's going to deploy, it's going to just upload it pretty much. And then you're able to just refresh your page and you should get the updated version. So, so there it is. It's just adding the files, the new version. So it's deploying my new files to Firestore, to Firebase Hosting over there in that project. And then you're going to be able to see the changes. So this is the workflow that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing, we're going to be building our application, deploying, coding the application, building, deploying. That is the workflow. That way you can continue seeing changes, and then you can, of course, show it to your friends. You know, you can see the changes publicly and all that. Okay, so the deploy is complete. All I need to do is just refresh on my web, on my web application in here. I should be able to see the green top, and there it is. You see, I just made the change, deployed it to Firebase Hosting, and there it is. Great. So I believe we're doing very good in time. Just wanted to see if anybody had any questions before we dive right into Flutter developing our application. And also, again, diving more right into Flutter. Now that we took away like the hard part, this was the hardest part. Installing Flutter, installing the CLI, and deploying, that was the hard part. Everything else, I assure you, is now a cakewalk from here. Because now you don't have to do like all the setup and all of that. Now you focus on delivering a great user experience, building a very cool application, and then all you have to say is Firebase Deploy. And then every time you just keep uploading the updated version of your application. Great. Let's continue then, because we want to make really good in time, and I want to show you the cool things about Flutter. So now let's dive right into the meat of this session, which is building user interfaces in Flutter. Let me show you what I'm going to be tackling. For who don't know, like I usually use a tool for prototyping my application. I usually use something like Adobe XD. You could use something like Figma or something like that. I have a couple of projects that I have like a design first, like a mockup. Once I'm satisfied with that mockup, then I can like build my application. So this is the application that we will be tackling today. So this is what I'm going to be building. I am going to be building the Flutter Dev Camp web application in Flutter. This is the type of experience that my users are used to. So here, for example, you will see a banner that says Flutter Dev Camp 22. It has a big banner in there. It has like the logo and all of that. It has like another banner at the bottom that says, what's a Flutter Dev Camp? It has some information. You see, it looks pretty much like a single page application. So these are the type of experiences that you can build in as a Flutter web application. Not like a Craigslist stuff with a bunch of text and whatnot. So these are the kind of experiences that you want to do. Now, I will be implementing responsiveness so that when someone accesses it as a phone, like through a phone browser, it looks like this. These are the kind of experiences that you want to deliver as a Flutter web developer because your users expect it like this. So you want to create very clean, very cool experiences in Flutter. If you want to build something like this, I can actually even give you this. I was actually going to be building this like a COVID type of like, let's not be so gloomy about this. Let me create something much cooler. If anybody wants to build this web app, I can give you this design for free. I don't mind. I can just give you this, and if you want to build it, I will give you a price myself if you get to do something like this. So anybody interested, let me know. I can give you this for free, this design. You can build this type of application, and then you can tap into it. You can build like a RESTful API. You can connect it to like the COVID information, and you can populate it. So stuff like this is what your users are used to. You guys remember this design that I showed you? It's actually publicly available. I built this web application that looks like this. I also build it. See, these are the kind of experiences that your users are used to for Flutter Web. Animations, very engaging, highly interactive. These are the kind of experiences that your users are used to do. Yeah, Marx says now in monkeypox. Yes, exactly. I need to change it and say monkeypox. Yes, that's right. Yeah. David, I can give you that design totally fine. Drop me a message in Slack. I can give you that. I can send you the Adobe XD. Great. So now let's start building this web application. How do you start building this application? First of all, like I'm showing you right now, I am showing you first the prototype. That is how I do it. I'm giving you my tricks. The first thing I do is I come up with a prototype. I see the mockup. I'm satisfied with it. I don't lay the first line of code. No, I first even run it through people, say, what do you think about this? Is this usable for you? So this is the kind of experience that you want to deliver through a Flutter web application. So I'm going to move this over to the side. And now let's start doing some coding. So I'm going to start on my Flutter web project. Perfect. So now, again, the main file that you're going to be building your Flutter web application, of course, is the main app file. The main.dart file is located inside of the lib folder, just like in any Flutter web application, any Flutter application at all. So the first thing that you want to do, of course, is like I'm going to start from scratch so that you can see that I can build it from scratch. So in your main.dart, if you're following along, again, remember, I'm not expecting you to follow my speed. It's just so that you can see the things that you can do in Flutter. You can go ahead and do it on your own stuff, but at least see the tricks that I'm implementing so that then you can implement it on your own project. So again, the first thing that you need to do, of course, is import the material library. So I'm going to just do this, import the material library, which is one of the main libraries that you import. Every Flutter application has a void main method. The void main method is the main method in the Flutter application because it bootstraps it. Then immediately after the void main method, which is the main method, you do the run. Is the first method that you're tapping now into the Flutter build your widgets, your widget hierarchy. The run app is the first method in the framework that you build, that you call. And then what you actually do is you actually add the first widget in your application. Everything in Flutter is a widget, even the application itself. Some of you can see it already in your projects. You see that you have a material app widget. This material app widget is the first widget in the whole hierarchy because even the application itself is a widget. So check this out. So the way that you do is you add a material app widget, and then immediately you have things that you can set up in your material app. For example, disabling the little debug sash on the right corner. You could just say debug show check mode banner equals false, and then immediately you can start adding inside of the main application widget the first widget. I'm gonna call it Flutter Dev Camp app, for example. And there is a property that you call it home. To home is where the first widget that you're building. Remember, building widgets is pretty much just combining other widgets together. That's what they call widget composition. So you build widgets like that. I'm gonna call it Flutter Dev Camp app, for example. See, it's not created yet, it doesn't exist yet, but this is how you build custom widgets. Whether you build it as a stateful widgets because they maintain their state, or you build them as stateless widgets because you're just gonna paint something on the screen. It's gonna be static, but at least it's gonna be, you know, good looking and very interactive. So this is how I usually start. Then the way that you do is, of course, you have to create this widget that doesn't exist. The way that you create widgets is either by extending stateful or stateless. So I do stateless. For example, I'm going to start with a stateless widget, and I'm going to call it just like this. I'm going to call it Flutter Dev Camp app, for example, just like that. You see? And then what I do is I extend a stateless widget because I'm not going to maintain state at the moment. I'm just going to be creating a static web app, single page application that is going to be just vertical, like a vertical design like this. You see that it has like a couple of banners, one banner here, one here, one here, one here, and then the footer. So that is what we're going to build right now. So let's just move over. Let's just set this up. I'm going to make this constant. You will see this a lot, like making widgets constant. When you make a widget constant, it actually improves in performance because it only, it taps into, it kind of like caches it pretty much. So when you make it constant, you're kind of like caching your widget. So see, I called the main method, called the run app method, create the first widget called material app, and then I immediately loaded the first page, for example. It's just so that we can get into the flow of things. So after doing this, I just want to verify that I have something. So let me just add, again, like I showed you, I inherit from stateless widget. This is how you create a custom widget. You inherit from either stateful or stateless. Then you have to override the build method. I'm going to type it up again so that you can see it. So you say override, and then you say widget build context. So you have to return a widget called build that returns a widget and that it takes a context. We're going to get to that in a minute. So to understand what a context is. In Flutter, a context is a reference to the location of your widget and the whole widget tree. And then the context allows you to pull information from parent widgets. You can pull system information about the platform and other things. You can pull it like that. You can pull state management services, provided services. You can do all of that through the context. I'm going to show you that in a minute. You will use it a lot. And all you need to do within that overwritten build method is just returning a widget. I'm going to return a container for now. Let's just do container, for example. And then in this container, I am going to, because for those of you coming from web, container is kind of like a div. So you will have like a div with, you can add properties to it. For example, you can say, width, you can add like a width, height, and all of that. You can do all of that to a container. A container takes, again, remember, building widget hierarchies, you build it as a, nesting widgets. Like widget is a parent of another widget. Then this widget adds another widget as a child and so on. So you build a whole hierarchy. So let's just add a simple child with another type of widget, like a text widget that says, hello, again, hello from, Flutter Dev Camp. You see, I haven't done anything crazy yet. So it's just a widget, a custom widget, overrided the build method that creates a container, and then the container has a text widget in there. That's it. Now let's run this locally so that we can see it. So remember how to run it locally. You say Flutter run, and then if you're running it in Chrome, you say -d Chrome. What it does is just going to grab your code. It's going to build it almost like for production, but it's not going to minify it. It's not going to bundle it. It's not going to do tree shaking, and it's just going to load it locally in a tiny little web server and then it's just going to show it on Chrome. That's all it's going to do. So it's all been done for you. And then that's it. See, so we're going to be building on our structure. Very simple. I just created one custom widget. It has a container with a text in there, and that's it. So you see, we're going to start building our structure just like this. So let's start. If you see, I should be the word hello from Flutter Dev Camp right at the top of the container. That's it. It's simple as that. You see, hello from Flutter Dev Camp. Perfect. That's it. That's all you need. Now let's start building on our application. So now that I see that my system is created, now let's go legit. Let's start building this application. So instead of a container, I'm going to add a scaffold. A scaffold is a very versatile widget from the material library that gives you the components for building like a Flutter page, like a page widget. It gives you a top bar, it gives you a bottom bar, it gives you a body. So this is the type of widget that you want to start with when you're building a page. So let's start with the scaffold. Scaffold has a body property. And then inside the body, then you add other widgets. I am going to, again, start adding a container, right? And then let me open it up again. So I'm going to add a container. And then this container is going to have like,
Let's say if I look at my design,
I'm going to start looking at this design, and I'm going to say, let's start building like the main structure. Let's build like all these banners, for example. I'm going to start with this banner. You see, it has like a blue color in the background. Let me pick like the color so I can apply to it and all of that. So I can just come over here to my design. I'll grab this color, and I'm going to apply it as the background of that banner, for example. I'm just going to move this over, and I'm going to say the height will be, let's start with something arbitrary, 600. And then I'm going to say color, and the color, I say color. You have to apply, for example, like the RGB channel, the alpha channel, and then you just paste your color in there. For example, if I do this, now I should be able to have one container that has a height of 600 pixels with the color of that blue that I'm going to be using. So simple as that, just the scaffold. Now, if I want to apply the changes on my application, all I need to do in Flutter is either hit the R key in the command line there where I'm building my application, and there it is. You see? So you have just a banner, 600 pixels, and just fills the whole page, and it's just blue. Very simple, not too hard. But instead, remember, if you see this structure, it actually looks more like a column. So I'm going to add these in a vertical fashion. So I'm going to need one widget that lays them out vertically. So I'm going to use a column instead then. So let me grab this color right here, and I'm going to grab this green. So right underneath my container, instead of doing a container, I'm going to do a column. So let's do the column. So I'm going to wrap this widget in a column. Now I already got a column at the top. If you see, not too hard. I just have a column. And then as the children of the column, the container is one of them, right? So I'm going to copy paste this container. Just going to move it right below. You see, not too hard. I'm just grabbing the, I'm going to grab the color again, the color of the green. But you see, it's just a column widget with two containers. It's almost like doing two divs in web. And I'm going to paste the green color right here. If I just save it and reload, now you should be able to see, a column. Now that you see that the 600 pixels up here, 600 pixels up here, and then you see a bunch of like yellow black lines at the bottom. That means my UI is chopping off, and you need to provide scrolling capabilities so that you can actually scroll through this web page. How do you do that? Very simple. Your column, because it's actually taking up the whole screen, and your children actually are going beyond the height of the column. Scrolling capability on that column. How do you do that? You can just wrap your column around another type of widget called, I just say wrap with widget. This is a shortcut that I use. You use this one called single child scroll view. Single child scroll view, scrolling around the child that you have. If your child is a column, it should provide scrolling for your whole child, which is a column which has other children inside. So if I just refresh and reload, Now I have a single child scroll view, and now I can scroll through my two containers. Very simple. A scaffold widget, a single child scroll widget, which provides the scrolling, and a column that contains the two containers. We're doing very good as far as like building our structure. Perfect. We have the top banner, we have the second banner. Now let's go with the third one. This one has like a light gray to it. I'm gonna grab like this color. I do this like in my designs sometimes, and then I grab the color just by picking on like that particular color. It's just like a light gray. So I want to go for that color, and I'm going to add another banner with that type of gray. You see, it's like very light gray. And I'm just going to add another container, just simple as that. Check this out. Copy the container. I am going to paste it right underneath it. And I'm going to copy that gray color that I picked up from my design, which I'm just going to do here. I will save. See, I'm not doing anything crazy yet. This is a scaffold with a single scroll, with a column widget, with 3 containers. If I save this and reload, now you see that I can scroll through my 3 containers. Nothing crazy. You can do this in HTML with 3 divs. Simple. Let's continue down. I do have also another banner, which is white. In this case, is a white banner, but it's like lower in space. So let's go with that one and just make it like half the size. I made it like 600 pixels. Let's make this 300, for example. So very simple. I don't have to explain it to you. You just copy this container. For example, you copy this container and then just paste it right below. But instead of 600, you say 300. Remember, we are only building the scaffold, the core of the web page of this Flutter web application. But we are going to be refactoring so that you can see the proper way to do it. But first, you need to lay down like the foundation, because you want to get some momentum while you're building your web application. Don't wait. Exactly. Yeah, those are the colors also. Thank you for pasting them right there. So if you just do that, and now instead of adding this color white, that's it. Now it's going to be a 300 height container with those colors. That's it. Now if I reload, I should be able to scroll through now 1, 2, 3, and 4 containers. Last but not least, let's do the bottom one. So I'll do this one. And this one I'm going to use that specific color. Let me just double click on that. I'll grab this color right here. These are my hex values. I can help you out. So I'll just grab this blue here and I'll help you out. So I'll do this one and do that. Perfect. So now you help me with that. Thank you. Now I'll just grab a new container like I showed you. Grab a new container, make it, I'll keep it like, for example, 150 probably, because it's like smaller. And then the color will be our new blue like this. So I'm just going to do this and do that. I'll grab the blue. I'm just going to paste and save, reload, just hit R, and I can just scroll down and there they are. So now I have the initial scaffold, my initial components that I can then start building. That's what I wanted to do. Perfect. Let's keep getting some momentum. Now that I have the main pieces in place, let's do some fun stuff. Let's start building this top container right here, which has these type of widgets. So I'm going to build this top widget, which has like the sun, it has the text, it has like this trees and that header. How do you build that? First of all, I am going to show you how you can bring, Imad, you're asking a question. You say, how can we remove the loading indicator when the app's starting to launch? And Mohammed says, is not the blue a bit taller in the design? It may be a bit taller, but again, that is the great thing that you can just adjust it accordingly. We can definitely make it a little taller. I'll do that actually, Mohammed. Thank you for clarifying that. And Imad, the loading indicator, you say when the app's starting to launch, you mean the like this loading, like when I load this thing right here, you're gonna get it as part of the application loading because it's actually in development. When you're deploying it, you don't get that, but you have the opportunity to add your own loading to that. That's what I can do. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Let's continue. So yes, I believe and yes, you were right. The top one may be a little larger. I can increase the size, and thank you for keeping me in check. So instead of 600, we can make it like 700 for now. And maybe we can adjust it later. But at least I wanted to get some momentum with this. So let's go back. So how do we do this? So I need these icons. I don't have any of these icons. How do I get to these? Remember, Flutter already gives or brings icons by default. You can use the icons that are provided by the framework, but the way that I do it, I create my own icons. I use SVG images.
Button side,
You mean this one right here? On the button side, you mean like on this side right here or this side? I mean, you can. I'll continue. I can get to that, to your answer, because I at least just wanted to continue on this one. But definitely, I'll get to. Oh, you mean on this side? You see, like right here. Oh, I think I'll adjust it later. Again, don't worry about like the specific dimensions on that. I just want at least to get the foundation. Later, we're gonna adjust those things. But thank you for bringing that up. So again, like I said, I create sometimes my own widgets. And the way that you create your own widgets, if let's say your widgets are not part of the icons in Flutter, you can just grab SVG images and you can use a service like this one. You can go to either Flutter. It's called like that. It's called Flutter Icons, I think. Look at it. The Flutter Icon, fluttericon.com. So you can go to fluttericon.com. Your SVG images, just like these ones, you just drag them into this website, for example, and you can just create your own fonts. So the way that I do it is like this. So I'm going to grab, for example, I think I already have them here. But let me grab those let's say those SVGs, and then I grab those SVGs, and then I can just make my own. I can make my own icon. So let me show you that. So if I just grab these icons right here, and then I grab this one, for example, and then I export it as an SVG. So I come over here, and then I just right click, export selected, and then I'll make this into an SVG. I drag it into that tool, and then I can get my own. I can build like my own fonts with that. That's what I like about Flutter, like the capabilities that it allows you to create like your own widgets and all of that. So let's do it. So I'm gonna say, Flutter. I can call it, icon 1, whatever. I'm just gonna drop it here like in the downloads. I'm just gonna say like icon 1, make it into an SVG, and export it. Yeah, Jose Ramos, thank you for dropping the link. Amazing assistant. So I'm just gonna export the second one, icon number 2. I'm gonna grab this one. I'm gonna right click. I'll say icon number 3. You don't need to do this. You only need it if you have very specific needs as far as icons. But if you want to use, if your icons are part of the Flutter icons, you're good to go. You don't need to do this. This is if you want to make your application very unique. And then I'll just call this icon 5. Make them into SVGs. That's it. Now I go to this page. I grab my icons, SVGs, and I drag them into there. After dragging them into this page, you see now the icons are there. Now you just select them. You can select them all. And very simply, I can just come over here and just say download. If you want to just keep it very bare bones. Mohammed said, which one is better, the icon as font or custom painter? Icon as font is better because you already have like the widget already created. Custom painter, you got to do a lot of customizations. Custom painter is for very custom stuff and it's better utilized when it's animated and stuff like that. This I don't need a custom painter for like my icon. It's like a very very cumbersome to do something like this. It's better to just use an SVG. So I'm going to download my icons, and let me show you what you get as a package. So if I open my Finder, I will open the zip file that I downloaded, and this is what you get. You get a class that already contains the mappings to your icons, and you get a TTF file that shows you your icons in there. So now this is how now you bring your icons, your already custom icons, which I'm going to call them Flutter Dev Camp. I'm going to call them Flutter Dev Camp.
Hey, Roman, check.
Yes.
want to do it.
I don't know if anybody wants to. Yeah, we can do like a 5-minute intermission if anybody wants to do before we proceed with the rest of the code. Great. Ashley, say, where can I view last week's session? Perfect. Let's take this advantage. Let's take one 5-minute break if you guys want to just, get up, get a glass of water or something, and then take some questions if anybody wants to. Thank you, Kevin, for keeping us in check. Ashley, you say, where can you view last week's session? I'm going to drop the link right now. And like I mentioned, let's come back again at 11:10. And we're going to continue loading custom fonts and doing all of that. Okay, we already got the link in there. Ashley, you can watch the previous session. The previous session, I explained how to install Flutter, how to create your own Firebase project so that then you can deploy it to the web. Jorge, I'm gonna share the icons. Yes, I can share the icons. I can even upload them here in the chat. So I'm going to go to the chat and drop the icon. So I'm just gonna drop the TTF in there, and then you will see it. If any, I'm in the Flutter channel. If you can join the Flutter channel, Samina, can you please show again how to get the SVG? Perfect. Let's get the SVGs. I'm gonna do it one more time. And great, Kevin, this is amazing. Yes, we take a little break. If you want to get a glass of water, let's do it. But let's also go back to a few questions that people have. Mark says, will you cover simple unit test frameworks? Unfortunately, this is only for creating like the core of the web. I can definitely point you to great resources on unit testing. If you want to get into unit testing, definitely I can send that information. Samina, I'm going to show you how to get the SVGs again. John Joy says, Roman, can we organize study groups and study group for the project? Yes, we can. Those icons in XD, did you make them there? Sid, yes, I make them here. Look, for example, here in Adobe XD, you can just start creating like a shape. For example, you can start creating shapes like this. And for example, I'm going to create like a, like a hashtag or something like that, like a hashtag symbol like this. You can just make it here in Adobe XD. And then when you grab something like this, for example, and then, for example, you just group it and you make like your own widgets. Now, after here, you can just do this. And then now you want to export it as an SVG. It's just as simple as just grabbing this design and then right-clicking. You say export selected, and then you can either generate it as a PNG or as an SVG. That tool, the Flutter icon tool, takes SVGs, and SVGs are way better. Why? Because SVGs are vector images. Vector images, they can scale infinitely and they don't lose their quality. And that's exactly what Flutter thrives in, like vector images. If you give it a raster image, remember, you will see like pixelated if you like stretch it, or you will see it pixelated if you shrink it. So raster images are better for like pictures, photos, like a JPEG, but a PNG, only if you need like one of those, of course, you do it like because you need the transparency, but vector images are better for Flutter. So in Adobe, yes, I did there.
Andrew, I can share
the XD as well. I will share the XD, and like I said, with this design, these other designs, I will share the whole XD at the end of the session. Mohammed says Adobe XD is not for free anymore. Yeah, it sucks. You can definitely use Figma. Figma is almost like Adobe XD, and you can do exactly the same thing as Adobe XD. It just so happens that I'm already paying for other things in Adobe, and I get Adobe XD for free. But I suggest you would.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Adobe stopped providing free copy of the XD.
It sucks. It sucks.
I think it costs you $9 a month now, or something like that.
This is such an amazing tool. I don't know why I immediately jumped into this when they made it free. So yes, go use Figma. So yeah,
I love this tool. This tool is great.
So Samina, I was showing you, yeah, exactly, like all the the icon in here. Let's say I created it. See, I just created it using shapes, and then after I just grab that, I right click on that same thing, export it as an SVG, and then make sure to drag that SVG into the Flutter icon tool. Make sure that you select all the icons, and then you download it. When you download it, then you get this TTF. I'm sorry, you get a TTF file, and you get a Dart file. In 1 minute, I'm going to now show you how to load those icons into Flutter and other custom icons, other custom fonts if you want to do. I'm going to start grabbing that before we start. Perfect. So now is 11:10. Let's proceed because we have a few things to cover, and I don't want to extend it too much because I know you guys want to enjoy your Saturday. So let's continue. So now that I have the TTF with my custom fonts generated, now let's import it into Flutter. So how do you do that? So the way that I do it is I usually create a folder at the root of the project, and I usually call it assets. So I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call it assets. Inside of the assets folder, then I create another folder for the fonts. So I'm going to call it just fonts. Now I'm going to drag my TTF file that just got generated into this fonts folder. There it is, flutterdevcamp.ttf, which contains my custom fonts, will be there. I will also import the font that I have for this design, which is, I believe this is Product Sans. So this text, because the text, if you run this application, it doesn't look the same. Like let me reload, do a Shift R to reload my application. I'm going to kill it, and then I'm going to reload it one more time. I'm going to load the application. You see that the font is not like this same font. So I need that font. And not only the icon, I need the font. So I already have it here. It's called Product Sans. And Product Sans is, it looks very much like the Google one. So these are just a bunch of TTF files. I just need like one. I can just grab just that one. And I'm going to grab the Product Sans regular TTF also inside of my fonts folder. So now I have two font files, Product Sans regular and Flutter Dev Camp. Now, how do you actually load these guys so that I can see them in here in my application? Let me show you how to do that. So you go, you go to the pubspec YAML. You go to the pubspec YAML file in your project, and you scroll down to this section that says assets right here. First of all, you do the assets if you're going to import like your images. But right below the assets, you have this one called fonts. So let's start with this one. Add it. The way that you do it is you grab one of these samples, you can uncomment it, and now you're going to add your own font. So you uncomment one of these blocks, these sections, and I'm going to call my family Flutter Dev Camp. That is the name of the font family for the font, for the icon fonts. And the asset is located in assets/fonts. Remember, assets, where is it? Assets, fonts, and then flutterdevcamp.ttf. So just like that, call it flutterdevcamp.ttf. That's it. That's all you need. Now I need another one for the Product Sans. So I need another section. You use the same approach, the same little block. You just copy paste it right underneath it. And I'm going to call it Product Sans regular. That is the name of the file right here. Look, it's the name of the font itself. So if I go, see, Product Sans regular, and then it has the TTF in it, right? So I have to go back and say Product Sans regular, and then the file is just called Product Sans regular.ttf. Perfect. Now let's see if, see, it already, now it builds, your project rebuilds. Not only because it's adding the new files, but you also need to rebuild your project because you need those files incorporated in it. Perfect. Now, how do we test this? I want to test that. I want to see that type of font in my widget. So let's start. Let me see if I add a child to the top container. I'm going to add a child type text, and I'm going to say hello world. And let's see what the font looks like. Hey, if I save it, you remember I added it, but let's see something. See, it says hello world, but it's not doing it correctly. One, the column is not stretching, and I noticed it's not picking up the font. Is first, the column needs to stretch the container in which it is running, which is the single child scroll view. Now, the way that you do it is you grab the column and you say cross-axis alignment, meaning the horizontal alignment in the column, and then you say cross-axis alignment stretch. So you're saying, column, stretch yourself to the boundaries of your parent, in this case, the single child scroll view. And then if I say cross-axis alignment stretch, and I reload, the container should stretch. But you still see the hello world. If I increase the font size, let me show you how to add the font size in here. I'll do style, text style, font size 50, for example. Let's start with that. If I reload my application, you will see that the hello world is still not picking up that font. Why? Because I'm missing adding it as part of the theme of the application. So every font in this application loads with that font. How do you do that? You go all the way here to the material app, and there is a field called theme. It's called theme. So now if you apply the theme, you say theme data. Inside of theme data, there is a property called font family. You go all the way up to the material app. Why all the way up to the material app? Because the material app is the first widget in the hierarchy. You want the styles to trickle down to every single widget underneath it, so you want to do it up there. So now I say product sans regular. That is one thing that you add. And then the theme data. Now this cannot be a constant. Now this has to be a regular widget because this is a variable, like a varied type of value that you're passing, so it's not a constant anymore. If I save now and reload, still not loading, let me kill the application completely because it needs to pick up the font. But at least here you need to say product sans regular. I killed the application if it's not loading for you, and then reload it one more time. Usually it does that, like it doesn't pick up the font if you add it and then you just rebuilding. Remember, Flutter works using a Dart virtual machine, and the changes are injected as as changes occur, but maybe files and stuff like that while you're building your application, they may not get picked up by the Flutter virtual machine, the Dart virtual machine, I'm sorry. And then the changes need to be reincorporated by rebuilding the application so that the Dart virtual machine picks up those changes. So let's see now if the font loads, the new font, the product sans. So it's going to take a minute. How to that font has our fonts in there. All the way to the top.
Let me show you here my Flutter icons. There is this Dart class. You can grab this Dart class and drag it into your project.
But the way that I like doing it, I like to create my own class. Not a CS. Let me escape out of that. I'm gonna create a new file, and I'm gonna add Flutter Dev Camp fonts at Dart. Simple as that. So Flutter Dev Camp fonts. And I'm just going to copy the contents of this Dart file. This Dart file, what does it give me? Like, this is the zip that you get out of
the zip. That's what you get.
So
if I show it again, my Flutter app
fonts, here it is. So it already gives you all the mappings that you need. So I'm gonna grab this class. I'm just gonna copy it. These are all the mappings that map to a, you see, like the icon to the character that represents that icon. And then all you need to do is just copy this class. I'm just going to copy this whole thing. I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to go back to my new Flutter Dev Camp Fonts class. And I am going to drop the class right there. Just copy paste it. I'm going to rename this Flutter Dev Camp Fonts because I like my name better. And then replace the constructor in there. And import the missing imports in here. So I'm going to do import the
Roman,
material library. And there it is. This is this.
Roman, we can't see a
I'm
screen.
going to kill this guy, and I have icon 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to be using, I got frustrated and disconnected. Oh, sorry. Can you guys still? I'm going to share one more time. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, I think your internet is
Yes.
slow.
This is acting up a little bit. Just wanted to make sure that you guys can still see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Perfect. Okay. Are you there? See for
Yeah, I'm there.
the chat.
in the camera. Okay, perfect. So let's continue.
And import my
Icons, and then I have
static values.
let's see if we can
Load them in the application. Let's see if they show up.
So right below the hello world, or instead of the hello world, I'm going to add an icon. So I add an icon widget, and instead of adding the icons from Flutter, I'm going to add my own icons. How do you do that? Look, you say Flutter Dev Camp fonts, and you see it's already loading. I am going to start just loading one. Let's see if they show up for me. I'm going to reload and see if the icons are loading, and it's not loading yet. That let's try to fix that issue. So I'm going to save one more time. I am going to, oh, I see an issue here. It says, could not find a set of nodal fonts to display all missing characters. Okay, so I think it's because of the mapping. So let's take a look again to here. And let's take a look at the mapping. So the mappings are here. For example, in case, let's say you're not getting, for example, like the icons in here, sometimes you usually do, like they may not display correctly for you. You can take a look, for example, like whether, oh, actually, I need to use Flutter. This was my issue here. So my issue is in the Flutter spec, I called it Flutter Dev Camp. So let me call it Flutter Dev Camp as opposed to something else. So let me just grab the Flutter family again one more time. I needed to change the Flutter name in there. The name of the font that is being loaded. Let me reload one more time and see if it shows up. Okay, there it is. So now the fonts, the custom fonts are showing. Perfect. Now let's continue with the design. I have the design right here. So the first thing that we want to do is add, for example, the title. It says Flutter Dev Camp, and it has like the little trees in here and all of that. If we want, we can start from the top, but at least I just wanted to show like the middle portion so that you guys get excited about this thing. So now, if you see this design, you can immediately take a look at the structure. So if you see something like that, what does this look like? This looks like a column that has a row that has a text called Flutter. Then it has the little tent, and it has this little dash icon. Then it has another row with a larger font that says Dev Camp 22. So you see now already the structure that we're building. We're building a column that is centered in the widget. It's also it also has the like a row that says Flutter with the two icons and then the other one. So let's start with that. Let's see if we can do that. So let's go back to the main widget, and now we're going to focus our attention on this container. The way that I'm going to do it, because I am actually I'm doing these, and these widgets are kind of like overlapping each other. I'm going to be using a stack widget for that. So instead of doing this icon, I'm going to replace this icon. So just so that you don't get confused, I'm going to just space these out so that we only focus on the top container. So now on the top container, now that I have the color, the widget, the main child will be a. Why? Because I'm going to overlap the widgets inside of there. So a stack takes children because you're going to add multiple widgets overlapping each other. And I'm going to center the design. So I am going to center a column that says Flutter Dev Camp with two rows. One row that says Flutter and the two icons, and then the other one with just the text. So let's do that. So you start with a center widget, center, right? And the child of the center widget will be a column. We just said that. So now I add a center widget with a column widget that has children. See, we're building this piece right here. It's a column with 2 rows, or at least 1 row and 1 text, and then we're gonna add like the button down here. That's also another row. So you can lay it out like this. So you're gonna do a row, text, and for example, another container for the button. So you kind of lay it out like this, and then you say, you know that you're gonna have a row for the Flutter up here. You're gonna have the text that says dev camp, and you're gonna have the web edition. Samina says, it seems like 3 rows with button in the 3rd row. Yes, the 3rd one is like a button, but I'm gonna start using it as a container. That way I'm gonna show you how to create custom buttons using the core widgets in Flutter. Yes, it is a button, but I'm gonna make it using a container. Very good point. So the first row takes what? It takes children. It's gonna align them horizontally. So I need a text called that says Flutter. Then I'm gonna need an icon with my tent. So I'm gonna say Flutter Dev Camp Fonts icon 1, I think. And then another icon, which I think is number 2. And that I think gives me the first row. The second row will say dev camp, and then with an apostrophe and then 22. So let's see now what is going to start looking like. So if I just lay it out like this, very bare bones, you see it's all messed up. You say Flutter, and then the icon, and then dev camp 22. So it's all messed up. Now let's make it correctly. The column, I don't want it to take the whole container. So I want it to still be centered. The way that you do it, you say main axis alignment center, meaning all the items in the column will be centered, and I want the column to take only the size of the widgets that it contains. So you say main axis size min. That means it's going to take only the minimum size that it needs. There we go. So I have Flutter, the 2 icons, which are kind of like overlapping, but we're going to fix that. And then DevCam 2022. Now let's start adding more definition to this. First, let's make sure that the font is white. So the Flutter, we're going to do Flutter, and I'm going to say that the style in the font is, I'm going to say text style, and I'm going to say that the color is white. And the font size, let's do like, let's start with 20 and make it bold. So I'll say font weight bold. So let's start with that. Let's just see it like this. Let me just break it down so that you guys can see it a lot better. And there you go. So I make it bold and make it 20 pixels. If I refresh that and reload, you will see now that the font, it says Flutter. It should say Flutter. See, it's a little big, but let's make it much bigger. Let's try 40, reload. There you go. Flutter a little bigger. Mohammed says, can we change the color in the theme of the material page widget, the color of the text? You can do that. Yes, you can do it in the theme, but these will be very unique widgets that have their own unique things. I don't want all the text to be for the whole page. I just want the whole text to just, in the whole widget to be black, for example, but each individual widget, I want them to have their own fonts. So yes, you can do it through the theme, but I want to keep it encapsulated to those widgets. Nah, I don't want them to trickle down throughout the whole widget, but you can do it. You can definitely do it. I'm going to make it a little tiny bigger, make it 50 and reload. And now I'm going to continue with the icon. So now I know that Flutter is there. Actually, Flutter is not bold, so we need to take the boldness. And now we need to make these 2 widgets bigger and also show better. So not bold. And then let me reload. So that looks good. Now the icons, let's work with the icons. The units of font pixels, what other options? SID, that is correct. We use pixel values. Why? Because Flutter takes care for you whether the type of density underneath the platform. For example, you know that you can use like density points or like device independent pixels like dip, but because you just give it like this, Flutter takes care for you. So what is the best type of pixel density for your fonts underneath it? So here, if I give it pixel, it will be 50 pixels all the way across all platforms. But it translates it depending on the type of platform. If it's, let's say for Android, it will use device independent pixels. If it's for iOS, it's going to use kind of like more like retina display optimized type of pixels. But you just give it 50, it already takes care of that for you. You don't have to specify device independent pixels or PX or EMs or anything. You just say pick 50 and it will take care of that for you. Remember, everything gets painted on the screen. That is why. What would be the maximum pixel that can be used? You can go to town. You can make it whatever size you want. You can go. Let's continue. So the size of the icons, let's make them, size, start with 30. And the color, let's also make them white. So I'll do colors.white. If I save this, let's see if they start taking shape. Okay, a little bigger. Let's do like the icon. Let's make it 40. And I reload. So that's kind of looking like this, maybe a little larger and maybe with a little bit of space. So I'm going to make it 50 and I think that's good. But you see now that the Flutter is not like aligned with that. It's kind of like more like that. So you can use the row and say main axis alignment, end, meaning align them all at the bottom. But if your widgets are not lining up, I'm sorry, not this one. So I should do the cross one, sorry. Cross-axis alignment, and let me try this one. You see they're still not aligned. That's okay. You can just adjust it by using either margin or padding, and then you just bring it up. We get to that in a moment. Let's continue with the other icon because it's so fixed. You can make these all like constants, and then you get this fix right there. I'll grab this same guy. I will just copy paste it in here and use the second icon. And now we should be able to see the other one. And you see it's kind of like overlapping. It's because like these widgets are kind of like too large and they don't follow like the same width. So you can just change this by grabbing this icon, like the second icon. You can wrap it in a container. You can wrap it inside so that you can give it some margin. So you can do this. Check this out. You can just say here, wrap with widget, make it a container, and give it margin on the left. You can say margin, and then you can give like left margin. You can say edge insets that only, and then you can say left. Let's start with 20 pixels on the left to see what it looks like. And let me, okay, that's my container. That's the child. Let me see what's my issue here. Sorry about that. Okay, I have that's the icon. I have the color white. This is the container. Oh, because they're all constants, of course. So I just got to remove the constant in here and add it individually because that is going to take that. So you can just make all these constants up here. That's totally fine. Except for this one, I'm sorry. So now that I do this, I can definitely make my icon a constant. Now when I reload, now you will see the little widget moving to the left. So now let's increase the margin on the left. So now we can see it. Let's do like 60 and increase the I think it's a decent size. I'll do like 60. You see, this is kind of like how you do it. You develop it little by little, and then you make adjustments, and then you can do that. So you see now Flutter, it says Flutter. It has like this. It says Flutter, the little tent and the little icon. Now I'll add like the dev camp right underneath it, and I can just grab even like this font right here, use it for this one, and then do the text that's 2022 right here. A constant, but the size will be much larger. So the text size will be probably like 80. So let's start with that. Does the parent container of icons have layout of children like gap between icons? Because this is a row. Again, row takes any type of widgets. You can mix text, icons, and all of that. So you make it unique to your condition, to your situation, how you want to lay them out. But the parent container, for example, of the icons, you don't have the control of that because you provide just a container or like a parent just to lay them out horizontally, but you lay them out the way you want underneath it. Let's add the font weight of bold to the bottom one. So we'll say font weight of bold, And if I save it, now you see Flutter DevCamp 2022. It's taking a little bit of shape, but you see that it's still like on the side. I want them to line up on the left side. So you need to make sure that in this column, I say cross-axis alignment dot start in that column, and only that column in there. Now, when you refresh it, you should be able to see them all on the left side. You see, they're all there. All I need to do now is just adjust like these icons, or what you can do is actually add them positionally. You can absolutely position it to adjust the Flutter, because I want the Flutter to line up to the bottom of these icons. So you have multiple ways of you can do it. You can grab the same text widget and you can adjust, for example, like the margin in here. Check this out. I can just wrap this text widget into like a container, and I can just do like margin bottom or the other ones, and then I can just adjust it. So you can do that. I'm going to leave it like this just for now so that you can make. Now what I want to do is maybe add some padding around it. I want some padding around it because if you see the design, there is like some breathing room on this design. You see, like there's kind of like some padding around it. Mahendra, you say, why using center widget in the parent widget of the column? Why? Because of this. This is a stack widget. So the stack widget is actually centered inside of the, is actually centered inside of the stack. The stack is inside of the container. Then I center that widget because I want the column to be one single unit and I want them to go together, right? I want them to go together. That's why I want it centered. And then the centering of the main axis alignment, meaning in the column, I want them to center vertically inside of that column. So that is why. So now to the center, actually to the column, back to your point, Mahendran. So now in that column, I want padding around the column as opposed to around the center. I want the center, I want the widget to be in the center, and I want the column to be on the left side, but I want now padding around that. So I do it to the whole column. So I wrap it with padding, and then I do, for example, let's say like 40 pixels of padding all around it. If I reload, now you see that there's like enough padding around it. It's coming together. It's kind of looking the same. And there you go. You see, very cool. Now, let's say, for example, I can go to the, like, build this container right here to answer Samina's question, for example. If I want to build this container as a button, I can build it as a button. Like, I can either add a round button, but I wanted to show you how simple it is just to create one container that looks like a button and add button capabilities to it. The way that you do it is you do this. Let's add, for example, like a child says web edition. I am going to now add round corners and a background color to this container. I am going to use a decoration as opposed to just adding the color to it. I use a box decoration. I add the color. Let me zoom it in here. So I add color to this widget. And I'm going to, yes, I can paste it for you guys so that you guys can grab it. So this is like the blue color that I have on my design. And I am going to do border radius. And then I'm going to say border radius dot circular. And I think that's probably, I don't know, 50 pixels or 25. I'll do like 30, for example. Start with that. And let's start with 30. And then now I want to add padding to my container, because if I save this, you will see how I will have right underneath my widgets, I will have this thing right here. See, it's already rounded, but it needs padding. So I'm going to add padding to this widget, and then I'm going to do it all around it. So I'm going to do 20 pixels all around of padding. If I reload, you see it's coming together. But I want more padding maybe on the, well, let's leave it like that. Let's just, I want to just change the style on this guy, on the text. The text style will have a color. And then the color is right here. I'm just going to grab the color. I think the color is just that same blue, but I'm going to show you later how you can, instead of hard coding all these colors, you want to have them in a single location. Like what like what Mohammed said, I believe it's what Mohammed was were you up talking about, like the styling and the theme, or you can just have a common repository for all your colors. So you can do that. But for now, I just wanted to get going and make some progress. And I just wanted just to grab the colors and hard code them. But this is not the right way to do it. You need to add your colors in the proper place. So I'm going to add a font size to that. Let's do like 15 and make it bold as well. Font weight of bold. If I reload it, you see it says web edition, maybe a little bigger. Let's make it 20. And there it is. I want more maybe padding around it and maybe less at the top. So instead of doing all, I'm going to say only. And then now I'll break it down. I'll say to the top, let's do 15. And the bottom, let's do 15. But for the left and the right, let's do like 25. So let's do padding of left and right of 25, top and bottom 15. And if I reload it, now it's looking more like the design itself. So if I show you the design, so it's looking very similar, right? Now let's play around with these little trees underneath it. I'm checking the time because I want to, give you time for questions and all of that. Yes, Neong, you're saying like creating a constant Dart file. That is exactly correct. Perfect. So let's continue. Now let me show you how you apply and add other overlapping elements to your stack by adding, for example, like the little trees. How do we do that? So because this is a stack, you have the freedom to add them right on the stack anywhere you want because they're absolutely positioned inside of this stack. After I build my column, which was like the main thing in there, now let's add some of those trees. Let's add the trees. You saw that I had the trees in my custom icons, right? Well, it's because they are part of the Flutter icons. So check this out. So I'm just gonna say icons, type icons, that is part of the icons in Flutter. If you go to the material design, if you go here to icons in the material design specification, all these icons are available for you for free to use in all your Flutter applications. I think I was looking for like trees the other day, and then I found this guy, which is the forest. So I'm going to add this icon as the forest. So let me show you. So I say icons.forest. I'm going to say size 50, and the color, let's do like that color, the green color, right? So let me grab that green color. And then how do you add it to the stack? So you see it's just right underneath the column inside of the stack. But let me show you one thing. Whenever you add items to the stack, by default, when you add them right away, they get added to the top left corner of the stack. Why? Because the stack doesn't know where you want to put them, but they get anchored to the top. You see at the top, but you don't want them at the top. You want them at specific location. I want them at the bottom and the left. Let's say bottom and the left and bottom on the right, or specific locations within, exactly. Mohammed said it right, is using the positioned widget. So that is exactly what you use. Thank you, Mohammed. So I wrap my widget into a positioned widget. So I wrap it inside a widget called positioned. Now I say, where do I want it? I want it at the bottom. How far from the bottom? No, I want it all the way at the bottom. So I say bottom 0. By doing this, now you will see that instead of anchoring itself at the bottom, it is showing right there at the bottom. Now I want it per my design, like maybe 20 pixels from the left of the stack. So I say left, I can do, for example, like 50, something like that. And of course, yes, I need to make it constant. Thank you. And even the color, I could do it like that. So check this out. So now I say bottom 20, bottom 0, left 50. So if I reload it, now you see that my icon now will be 50 pixels from the left and all the way at the bottom. If I increase the font size instead of from 50 to like 100, because I want to see it a lot more and I want it to follow my design, it's looking good, but it's not like really close to the bottom. How do you do it? Use negative values. I can do -10. And that way I say, I want it, actually pull it down. So by pulling it down from the bottom, 10 pixels in the negative side, it will pull it down. Let's increase the size to 50 here, to 150. And now you see it's more than 10. So let's do -20. I reload, and there it is. It's looking very, very similar to this one. All I need to do now is just copy paste all of these, and now I'm pretty much getting to my design. So I will show you, of course, more strategies later on how to make it so that maybe they don't overlap, that you can implement more responsive design to your design, to your Flutter web applications. I'm gonna copy another one, and I'm gonna make it, instead of 50 pixels from the left, let's make it more like 150, and it's gonna be a little smaller, so let's keep it to 100. Let's see what it looks like. See, it's two together. Let's make it maybe 250 from the left. And reload it. You see it's taking shape, but the bottom is too much. Let's keep it at 10. There you go. You see now in my design, it's like a little bit faded. So how do you do that? You want to make it a little faded. You just grab this whole icon and you wrap it inside another type of widget called opacity. So you just wrap it inside a widget called opacity. And then you lower the opacity on that widget. I have to remove the constant from here, do it here. And actually, no, it's because of the, it's because of the icon still. So I know my icon still be constant, but the opacity needs an opacity value. And let's do like 0.7, for example. Let's start with that. Okay, now that the value is fixed, I can make it constant. So sometimes you gotta tweak it. So now when I reload, no, it's still not very much. Let's do 5. Let's do 50% opacity. Cool. So now it's coming together. You see? So now we're adding our own widgets in there. We're adding our own images. You see that even if I scroll down, those widgets are stuck in that stack. And then that way you can build your widgets. And you see how sharp those images are? I can zoom in and you see that the images are pretty sharp. They look very well. They look very cool. You're using like kind of like SVG images for your web applications. And then that way you keep your application very good looking, very sharp looking, very attractive, and then you can continue building your application just like that. One more thing before we wrap it up, I just want to show you one more trick so that you can add more things to your widget. In this case, I'm going to add this design, which is like the sun. You see that the sun right there? I'm going to add it to the corner. But then and then this is again the richness of Flutter. You want to build very engaging applications, very highly interactive. You can build something like this, and you can do, Sid says, can you wrap position in a function and pass it parameters and repeat calls to the function? You can definitely do that. You can just create one function that generates your trees automatically. You can definitely do that. You can do that, but because I'm going to have just 4 fixed trees, I can just fix it myself and do it there. Otherwise, then you can just add it to a function, provide random positions or your positions, and you can do it like that. No difference. You're only maybe optimizing the generation and maybe condensing it to a method, but it doesn't give you like a plus if you do it like that. It's just you're condensing your code. But yes, you can do it like that too. So let's do this one, the little, just to wrap it up, like the little sun on the corner. So I'm going to grab exactly one of these widgets. I'm going to put it at the bottom, and I'm going to say the sun. And I'm going to use one of my icons. So instead of being positioned at the bottom, this is positioned at the top. And then I'm going to say is 250 pixels from the top. And now I'm going to say from the right, 250 from the right. So let's not add an opacity. So let's remove this widget. And my icon, instead of being the forest, will be my Flutter dev camp icons. I think is the last one. And then if I reload it, let's see if the sun is showing up. Actually, it's the logo. So let's try the number 4. There it is. So it's the icon font. So it's too big. It's too much like the position from the top. So let's keep it very small. Let's do 50 instead. And now you should be able to see it, the sun right up at there. The color is not green. It should be white with an opacity. So let's say colors.white. with opacity. You didn't know that trick? You could also do it from a color. So I'm going to say 0.5. That is my, let's say the value that I want to provide to my sun, and there it is. You will see now the sun will look, and there it is. You see, it's very much looking like my original design. You see, I'm following it to the dot. The last thing I'm going to add is one small animation to that thing. That is what makes Flutter web applications different from other applications, because you build stuff like this. How do you do this how do you make this widget into something cool that right there, it asks me like animation? How do you do it? Well, first thing, your widget needs to you can either extract this as a separate widget and add the animation inside, or you incorporate the animations right into this parent widget. So this is a stateless widget. In order to do animations, you need to make them stateful widgets. Why? Because changes in animations, every frame when it changes is one pixel being moved, is one frame being re-rendered, is one rebuild of the application. When will Flutter have hard reload on the web? That's something that they're still working on that, but yeah, we still have to do hard restart, but there's no hard reload. But I hope that they do get it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is change my widget from a stateless widget to a stateful widget. Why? Because the stateful widget rebuilds the widget on every change. Because an animation is changed per frame, you need to make it into a stateful widget. So one thing that you need to add to your stateful widget is bring a ticker. A ticker is a reference to the underlying mechanisms in Flutter, in the Flutter framework, on how it updates every pixel on the screen on every frame. Every refresh on the screen is one tick. So you want to synchronize it with that, you have to add a tick. How do you do it? You add something called single tick provider state mixing. I know it's a mouthful. Actually, it's not to this class. You have to add it to the state. So you have to add it to the state class right down here. You have to add what they call the single ticker provider state mixing. Every widget that needs to involve in an animations needs to do this. Well, actually specific explicit animations. So an explicit animation needs something called an animation controller. I'm going to use an animation controller, and I'm going to call it sun controller, for example, just like that. I'm going to make this late. I'm going to make it late because I'm going to initialize it later. I'm going to say, I'm going to override the state, the init state, because in the init state method, you override it for when you're going to initialize things in your stateful widgets. So what I'm going to initialize in my stateful widget is the controller. So I want the controller to be an animation controller. And then I want it to be synchronized with Flutter's, refresh rate. So you do vsync this, meaning I want it to synchronize, and I want a duration of, let's say, I want it to last, for example, like 3 seconds, for example. Yes, Alexander, no problem. So you can definitely watch all of that later. Yes. So I'm going to say seconds is 3 seconds, for example. Now you wrap your widgets in a transition widget that will perform that animation for you. So let me show you how you do that. So this is the icon that represents the sun, right? This icon right here. So I'm going to wrap it inside a rotation transition widget. Rotation transition. And then this rotation transition is another widget that you feed it a animation controller, and then you perform an animation, a rotation animation on that widget. What does it require? It requires something called turns, like how many turns it needs. So it uses the values between 0 and 1. So if you want a full rotation, you start at 0 and then you end at 1. Usually the controllers and animation controllers, what it does is it performs an animation from beginning to the end using normalized values between 0 and 1. So if I want to say, I have to provide a tween. A tween, remember, it's an animation from one value to another value. So you have to give it a tween, and you have to give it a begin value. So I want it to begin at 0 and end at 1, meaning do a full rotation. And to this tween, I have to provide the animation controller. But what type of animation? What type of animation I want to do? You use a curve animation. Now, what do you give this curved animation? A curved animation is an animation that has like a curve. So you wanted something really cool. So you want to get it a curve. So the parent is the sun controller, and the curve is how smooth you want your animation. You say, for example, curves dot linear. That means it's just a linear animation, and he's going to just perform an animation, just rotating the sun in place, just from beginning to the end, rotating. Let's take a look. I did not practice this, so let me see if it's gonna work. I like this kind of sessions where I like when people keep me check. See, it's not. Why? Because you have not started the animation. The animation needs to be started. So right now it's like fixed. The way that you start your animation is after you create the controller, you say forward. By saying forward, you're saying start the animation right away. So let's save that. Let's reload. And there we go. We have a shining, spinning sun. You can maybe make it a little longer so that it spins a little slower. You can maybe make the sun a little bigger also because you want to maybe make it look cooler. So, and kind of our design. So if I just save it and reload it, check this out. Now we have Flutter Dev Camp. You see, this is what Flutter Web is cool because you can build very cool animations, you build very engaging user interfaces, and you can deploy it on the web. So now, as the last thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to deploy this to my web app so that you guys can see it there in your house. It's too sunny, says says Mohammed. So I'm going to kill the application. Remember, every time you make changes, always rebuild your application. So I'm going to say Flutter build web, and then I'm going to say that the web renderer is the canvas kit. So I'll say renderer canvas kit. And while we're wrapping up, I just wanted to say again one more time, thank you so much. Okay, I think what did I do? I didn't do it correct. So it's Flutter build, and then I typed this incorrectly. So yeah, I just want to say thank you, everybody. We're going to wrap up now. I'm just going to leave this building and I'm going to deploy. But what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to raffle one t-shirt. Make sure, of course, this session is recorded. Make sure that watch it one more time. You can follow this tutorial that I just did right now. You're going to see the code also being deployed. Yes, of course, Samina, you can definitely follow along. You can play with this, but make sure that you build up on your web application. Add cool things to it, add icons, add really cool things. So now, while I leave this building, I'm just going to bring up now our wheel of names. And Kevin passed me a list of folks that have joined today.
Yeah, hang on.
Thank you so much,
yeah,
guys.
I gotta
build. I'm just gonna say Firebase Deploy. That deploys. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for joining. You guys have been amazing. Love your questions. Love the fact that you were here. Spend with us 2 hours of your Saturdays. Yes, Jose, thank you very much. The web renderers is something very key that you guys need to learn. In the resources that I also provided in the PDF, in the slides, I also provide stuff about animations and stuff like that. So is Kevin online Kevin, are you ready to give me the list of the folks?
Not yet. Can you hear me?
Is Kevin in line? I don't see Kevin. Let me see.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you give me the list? I can't hear you, unfortunately. Can you just drop it in the chat? Drop me the list of the attendees for today so that now we can raffle a very cool Flutter Dev Camp t-shirt. And next week, I hope that all of you can continue building on your Flutter web applications. Next week, we're going to start, the next session, not next week, but the following week, I want to see more interactions, more interactivity in your web applications, more cool stuff. And also I want them to be deployed. So please continue building up on your web applications. Kevin, still waiting for the list. Can you either send it to me via the Slack. Rancel, you want a t-shirt? Stay right there. We're gonna raffle it right now. Kevin is just compiling the list of all the attendees in here, and all of you are gonna get the chance to get a t-shirt. But remember, keep building on those web applications. I think my application just built. Now let's grab it and take a look, which is publicly available. I'm pretty sure. And if I load it, yay! So we have our application. I'm going to continue building on that. I'm going to implement responsiveness. I'm going to add other things. You see, it has scrolling and all that. These are the type of experiences that people expect on the web when it comes to Flutter web. So please continue building. Camilo, thank you. Thank you, man. Gracias. Always is a pleasure having you. Camilo also comes from GDG Flutter Toronto, and he's always a great supporter of our community. And always a pleasure to have him here. The sun is not moving in this one. Oh, it's probably because I did not save the last change. So there it is. Now I think it picked up. But I need to make sure that you see that it says forward and then it stops. It's because I need to make it repeat forever. So that is one change that I'm going to add later. So you can just say repeat forever and it's going to repeat forever. Rancel, representing Dominican Republic right there. Thank you very much, man. So Kevin, the list, do we have it already? The link to the site, yeah, it's this one right here. I'm gonna drag it, drop it right here. And while you guys are doing that, I'm just gonna make that tiny change. Instead of saying forward, you can just say here repeat, and then you can say reverse if you want to reverse. But repeat will always repeat it forever, and it's gonna keep spinning all the time. So I'm gonna rebuild my application and then just reload it again. So I'm just gonna keep it there. Kevin is going to give me the list in just a second. Thank you guys for staying in there. Just hanging there. The list is being compiled. And we're going to do the raffle for one Flutter Dev Camp t-shirt. You're going to give me your information. You already provided, we're going to sync up with you so you can give us your information. We're going to ship it to you. And please take a picture with the t-shirt. You can tweet it. You can maybe the hashtag Flutter Dev Camp and whatnot. So let's do that. Kevin, there's no way to get it like in a cleaner way because this is like a little bit messy right here. There's no way to get just the column of the names of the people.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. That if you get it as a CSV and you load it in an Excel. That's why I said like it needs to be towards this because we wanted to make sure that we get everybody. And then now we need to grab just the list of the names of the people. I just need the names just so that we can drop it there. Just the names of the people who have RSVP'd and are included in the list. Yeah. So sorry guys. Yeah. So now we rebuild. Now I'm going to redeploy it so you guys can see it. And thank you guys for sticking in there. I know some of you have to drop off. But yeah, please hang in there while we do this. I'm going to redeploy it again because I just rebuilt it. Perfect. So now Kevin just gave me the list. Now we're just going to do this. Just give me 1 second. Perfect. Let me just grab the whole list of everyone in attendance. Thank you for hanging in there. And thank you, Kevin, for providing the list. So there is the list of everybody. Now, good luck to everybody. Please join the following session, which is in July. Spend these next 2 weeks building on your application, watching the videos, catching up. Good luck to everybody, and thank you again for joining. So let's spin. Good luck. Drum roll. Let's see who's going to win a Flutter Dev t-shirt and is going to rock it. Asherly Levy, thank you. You just win a Flutter Dev Camp t-shirt. We're going to get your information offline. Please let's sync up via the Slack channel so I can ship it to you. Thank you. For the rest of you, thank you so much for joining. Let me see if the sun is spinning. It should be spinning. There it is. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Saturday. Have a happy 4th of July for those of you who are in the US. And thank you so much for joining. I hope you learned a lot. See you in the following session in July. Make sure to sign up. And thank you, everybody. If for some of you who wants to stick around, we can take one more picture. If you guys want, we can take one picture. For those of you who
Yeah, I
want
was going to say that. Can we stop the recording and take
Yes,
some
let's stop the
pictures?
recording and do that. Perfect.